Hi, everybody. This is Melinda Emerson, the Small Biz Lady. I am so excited to be back with you all today for another episode of Ask Small Biz Lady Live. Now, how we do these is what I try to do is keep all of the questions like topic based. So today we're going to be talking about professional speaking and sort of talking about everything that you need to know about how to become a great professional speaker, because it's not just about speaking. There's a lot you need to know about the speaking business. So I really wanted to just give you all an opportunity to talk to me. I've been a professional speaker for 14 years now. And so I've had the opportunity to do lots of different things when it comes to speaking. So I just wanted to open it up so that you guys have an opportunity to, ask me whatever you want. We are streaming live on my YouTube channel. We are also streaming live on Facebook and on LinkedIn. So if you all have a question, please post it. In the chat so I can see it. But some of you did submit questions in advance before the chat. So I'm going to kind of run through some of those first. And if you guys have some great questions to chime in, by all means, let's do it. I also wanted to take an opportunity to invite each and every one of you to my Brand in Demand live conference that's taking place this September 21, 22, and 23. I'm going to be teaching anyone that wants to be an author, speaker, coach, or consultant, like transition from being in corporate to becoming a consultant. I got you. I'm going to be teaching all of this stuff this September for 2.5 days at the W Philadelphia. I am so excited about it. And for those of you that are here live joining me today, I got a discount code for you. So if you are interested in attending the conference, I will put the link in the chat. And what I want you to do is go to smallbizladyuniversity.com/brand in demand live. And I want you to use my code. It's SBL VIP. And if you do that, you will get the VIP rate for the current general admission price. So it's $497. So if you all are interested in joining me in Philadelphia, where I'm going to be teaching a lot more of the information we're going to be talking about today, please come and check us out. It's going to be awesome. And this event is already almost sold out. So if you're really interested, please go on and sign up, because I want you guys to have an opportunity to spend actual face time with me, where I can teach you all of this stuff. So anyhow, I already have a question. Okay, so somebody said, how does one transition from speaking for free as a corporate executive to getting paid to speak personally? And she said, caps emphasize deliberate. So she said, how do I get paid as a professional speaker? Well, part of it is you got to ask to be paid, right? When someone invites you to speak at an event, you need to ask them, what is their budget for your event? And so that indicates to them that you expect to be paid. Now, sometimes people don't have budget. And if people don't have budget, the question that you need to ask yourself is this an audience that I want to cultivate as leads for my business, as leads for my consulting practice? Sometimes you do a free gig because it's in front of the right audience, but you don't want to do that all the time. If you want to transition from being a paid speaker, you have to start operating like you're a paid speaker. You need to ask what the budget is, ask what the honorarium is, so that people don't assume that you're going to do it for free. Right? So you have to change the conversation. The other thing that I do sometimes is, because I have books, sometimes I might work for a smaller fee if they're willing to buy 300 copies of my book for everyone in the room. So, because it's more valuable to me to have my brand walk out the door with everybody that came to the event than it is to get a big check. So, you got to be strategic, but the biggest thing is you got to ask for the money, right? You have not because you ask not. So, if you change the conversation about it being about money, they'll figure out if they really want you or if they can find the money to pay you. All right. Someone said, when first getting started, where do you find opportunities to speak? Well, when you're first getting started as a professional speaker, one of the things you want to do is look for opportunities to hone your craft. So when you're first getting started, look for a panel, volunteer to be a moderator, a volunteer to speak at first. Because the other thing you got to realize is that you got to get good at speaking to command top dollar. And so you need to practice. And the best way to practice is to practice on people. So when you're first getting started, look for opportunities. Is there a women's day at your church? Is there a trade association that you belong to that invites speakers to come to meetings, right? Look for opportunities like that so that you can get your sea legs, so that you can get comfortable giving speeches. The other thing you want to do is practice and put together your what I call your 3 best signature talks, right? So a lot of times I talk about how to become a social media ninja. A lot of times I will talk about how to become your own boss, obviously, because that's what my book was about. But sometimes people want to know how I became Small Biz Lady. So I put together 3 talks about those things. So when people contact me and say, oh, what can you talk about? Oh, well, if you're interested in having somebody talk about social media, I have a great talk on social media. If you have, people that are just getting started in business, I have a great presentation on how to become your own boss, or if you want a more of a keynote presentation, I can do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Find out who their audience is, find out what the goal is for their event, and make sure that you have at least 3 options you can throw at them for topics that you can speak intelligently to. Right. So that's what I did in the beginning, and it worked really well for me. The other thing about free speeches is you always get a recommendation letter. Always ask them for a recommendation on LinkedIn. I even do that for paid speeches that I do. So it's really important that you get those testimonials so you can use them on your speaker one sheet. You can use them on your speaker website. Free speeches can turn into other stuff. So don't turn your nose up at a free speech, especially when you're just getting started. But you definitely want to always ask, is there an honorarium? Do you have a budget for this? Always, that needs to be one of your questions. All right, let's see. Is there another question? All right. Well, one of the things that someone had asked actually before we got started today was, how can you sort of, build up a speaker, reputation? And one of the things that I want to caution all of you is, I remember when I first got started speaking, I used to tell people that I was an author speaker coach. That is not telling anybody anything about you. My life changed when I said that I was America's #1 small business expert. When I said that, people immediately were like, oh, I know what you do, right? So it's really important for you to think about, what do you want to be known for? And I am fortunate because I have a superhero moniker, right? I am the Small Biz Lady. So it makes it easy for people to kind of know what I do because of my name, my nickname. But you really need to get clear about what you want to be known for, because anybody can be a speaker. People are looking for experts that know how to motivate. And so you want to make sure that you have built yourself as an expert in something, and that these are the topics that you can talk about around this issue. That's going to be really, really important as you think about becoming a professional speaker. But the other thing I want to say too is that mindset has a lot to do with it. If you want to be a professional speaker, you need to treat yourself like you are a professional speaker already. You need to wake up in the morning and be like, I am a professional speaker and I am going to be paid $10,000 to speak soon, right? So you need to pump yourself up and treat yourself as it is true right now, because so as a man thinketh is he. So you really want to position yourself like, if someone says, what do? You are a professional speaker, whether you have been paid a dime to do it yet or not. That is real important. So I just want to encourage all of you, if you are thinking about getting into speaking, anybody can be a speaker. Not everybody can be a good speaker. So what makes a good speaker? Somebody who is versatile, somebody who can speak with or without slides. It can't always be about slides. You got to be able to stand up there with a microphone and move the crowd. And if sometimes your technology doesn't work, you can't be over dependent on slides, but you also don't want to kill your audience with PowerPoint. So one of the things that I learned when I first became a speaker was to have a good handout, because a handout is also your brand walking out of the room with everyone who attends an event. So you really want to make sure that you have ways to reinforce what you're teaching that isn't necessarily PowerPoint, that isn't necessarily video, right? But one of the things you do want to do is have a way to capture people's contact information, whether or not they get a chance to speak to you. So you want to figure out if you can use some software to take a survey, can you use some software to get everyone to give their opinion about your presentation. All of those things are important, because at the end of the day, you do speeches to get leads for your business. So you're not going to get leads unless people give you their contact information, give you their business card. And one of the great ways to do it is incorporate it as part of your presentation. So those are some of the things that I have done in the past that have really helped me in my business. So one of the other things that I want to encourage you all about is to just think about your audience. Who is your best audience that you want to get in front of? For me, it is always small business owners. I love newbies, startups, side hustler entrepreneurs, and I love getting in front of a room of existing entrepreneurs, because I have a signature speech for both of those audiences. So my newbie audiences, I talk about how to become your own boss. My existing businesses, I talk about the 12 P's of running a successful business. So you got to make sure that you have a signature talk that works for both audiences if you have a primary and a secondary audience. In my business, I happen to have 60% of my audience is existing entrepreneurs and 40% of my audience is aspiring newbie side hustler entrepreneurs. So I always have to have content that serves both of these audiences. And I have content that serves both of these audiences on my blog too, because I can't shut out one for the other, especially because how I got famous in the first place was because of this book behind me that I wrote, Become Your Own Boss in 12 Months. I wrote that book, which for many years made me a startup queen. So I would only ever get invited to speak at conferences for, newer, younger entrepreneurs. And then finally, I wrote my book, Fix Your Business, for existing entrepreneurs. And with the time I wrote it, it was kind of funny because people were a little bit offended by the title. They were like, my business isn't broken. Then the pandemic happened and my book started selling like hotcakes. So I will tell you that you really need to know your audience. You need to be clear about who your best audience is. And you need to have a signature talk for your primary and secondary audience. And then that's if you're doing more workshop style, more teaching. Now, if you're doing a keynote, how you structure a keynote. Let's talk about that. That's a good question. For a keynote, I always tell my story the first 10 to 15 minutes of a keynote. And then the last 30 minutes, I tell them how they can do it too. So I structure my talk around my story, how I became Small Biz Lady, how I built a brand that reaches millions of entrepreneurs each week online. And then I teach them the last sort of like 25 to 30 minutes. And you always want to leave room for questions. I love to leave 10 to 15 minutes for questions. So you want to kind of think about how you want to structure things. But whenever you're doing a keynote, that is always an opportunity for you to tell your story. So you tell your story, right? Justify why you are the person standing on stage talking. And then you get into teaching them the tools and tricks and strategies that they can use to transform themselves in wherever they find themselves. You always want to give your audience 3 to 5 transformational points, things that might be obvious, but they're not obvious to somebody who's struggling right now. So that is how you can always position yourself to be the hero, right? Give them the information. You want to entertain, inspire, and educate your audience. If you are able to do that with a speech, you are going to win, especially if you can figure out how to be a little funny. I mean, humor is a very powerful medium in speaking. And I have found that because I am funny, a lot of the things that I'm trying to talk about that might be kind of hard, that might be almost like a slap in the face to people, they take it a little better if they're laughing. So figure out how to incorporate a little bit of humor. I'm also big on inviting people to ask questions while I'm presenting. Like, I don't make people wait until the end of my talk to ask questions. If somebody's got a question, raise their hand. I'll stop and address them, because you want to be flexible. You want to be able to engage your audience, and you better know your content well enough where you can stop and pick right back up too. And that only happens if you have been doing your content for a long time and you know it cold. Somebody could wake you up at 3 o'clock in the morning and be like, tell me about this. And you can rock it, right? What you don't want to be is a speaker that's turning around looking at slides every 5 minutes. You don't want to be that speaker. You want to know your content cold without even peeking at the slides. The slides are there for the audience, not for you. So you need to get good enough that with no notes, no slides, you could give that presentation. Now, slides are great because they reinforce points, but let's talk about slides for a minute, because I think sometimes people overdo slides. Like, how many times have you gone to a meeting or a presentation and somebody's got 55 words on a slide? Do not do that. As a speaker, you want to be as minimal on the slide as possible, because you want your audience to pay attention to you. So you do not want to have every single bullet point that you're talking about on a slide. No, you need to have one big point on the slide, maybe one beautiful piece of artwork on the slide. That's it. You don't want to be bulleting everything down to the minute. I do that when I'm teaching in a classroom, but when I'm giving a keynote speech or a lecture, that is not how that works. You are not in a classroom teaching fifth graders. You're teaching adults. And so you want to give adults visuals so that they remember what you said, but you don't want them reading a slide instead of paying attention to you. The other thing I want you to think about too is, if you are going to do slides, make sure your website is on every slide, because sometimes people in the audience taking a picture of your slides. So make sure that if they take that picture, they know where the URL is to go get more information from you. So make sure that you put your URL on every single slide. And I would also say, make sure that you customize your slides. Make sure they are branded to you. Make sure when people see them, they know that that is your brand. Extremely, extremely important. So you want to make sure that you are promoting your brand with your brand colors and your brand logo at all times. Even with this live stream that you guys are looking at, my Small Biz Lady University logo is up in the corner, and my brand colors are what this little box is, and I'm in. So all of that stuff is important when you think about branding yourself. But everything is about branding. When I go out and give a presentation and I have, and I'm selling my books and workbooks and things in the back of the room, I have a branded table skirt that is orange that has Small Biz Lady Melinda Emerson on it so that people can recognize that it's me. So like orange is my thing, right? So you want to make sure that all of your branding is congruent, that it aligns, that it does not confuse people, right? And your slides and how your slides look is part of that. So be very intentional about your slides. Don't use cookie cutter templates. Don't use even cookie cutter artwork. If you can, actual artwork of real people is much better than clip art or something you get off a deposit photo or something like that. So just think about that when you're constructing your slides. A lot of times I will have graphic designers build my slides for me. And then that is how I use them because I don't like cookie cutter slide decks. And people can tell when you do that too. So if this is your signature content, your slide deck needs to look like it was custom made. So think about that as well, especially if you're going to be using, I have some slide decks I've used for 5-10 years. So every so often you got to refresh them, make sure that they're updated and that you don't have any dated information in them. But your signature slide decks should be as much as your signature name. So think about that. Now, I just want to take a break for a minute and just to talk to you guys about my conference, Brand in Demand Live. I'm doing my first live event in 6 years. This coming September 21, 22, and 23. It's called Brand in Demand Live. And who it's for is people who are authors, speakers, coaches, and consultants, or people who aspire to be those things. And I am going to be teaching you how to elevate your brand to the point where opportunities come to you. You don't have to chase them, they come to you. If you want to know how I've gotten Amex, Verizon, Visa, FedEx to be my client, I'm going to teach you how, because we didn't call them, they called me. And I'm going to show you how to elevate your brand so that you become the most important voice in your industry so that you will draw media opportunities, business opportunities, strategic alliances. You'll draw all that stuff to them. Wouldn't it be awesome if you get featured in the Wall Street Journal, Essence Magazine, or USA Today without paying a publicist? Wouldn't you love that? I'm going to teach you how to do all of that at Brand in Demand Live. And I'm so excited about it. I want you to come to Philadelphia, come to see me. All you have to do is head over to smallbizladyuniversity.com/brand in demand live and use my code SBLVIP so that you can get a VIP ticket for what the general ticket is costing right now, because I want you to be there. I want to make it as easy as possible for you to be there. We're going to hold this event at the W Hotel in downtown Philadelphia. I am so excited about it. So I want you guys to come. I want you guys to register. Look, this event is almost already sold out. So if you're interested, jump on this because I am sure by the end of this month, there probably won't be any tickets left. So I really want to encourage you all. It's going to be an intimate affair. You're going to have access to me. You're going to be able to ask your questions. You're going to hear from experts. Let me tell you something. This event's going to be awesome. So please sign up. I want you to be there. All you have to do is head over to smallbizladyuniversity.com/brand in demand live. And for my discount code that's out here right now, use SBLVIP. Let me repeat that. Go to smallbizladyuniversity.com/brand in demand live and use my code SBLVIP to get a VIP ticket for what's costing for the general admission ticket right now. So I want to make it as easy as possible for you guys to come and join me. And I'm just really excited about being able to share all that I've learned over the past 14 years with all of you so that you guys can get brand deals, but more importantly, so that you can get the spotlight that you deserve. That is what I want for you. I am so excited for you guys to come. Now, let's get back to public speaking. One of the things that someone asked me was about whether or not I use speakers bureaus. Now, I have to tell you, for years and years, I have never used a speakers bureau until the last year or so. An agency approached me and wanted to rep my brand. But for years, I just got people who approached me directly, or we reached out to them about their conference to speak. And that is how I have been able to grow my speaking business. Now, I have to say, I'm not a speaker that does 60 or 80 speeches a year. I probably do 20 to 30 a year because my business doesn't work like that. I got a lot of other things that I'm doing. And I am a single mom. So I couldn't just run around the country and be on a plane every week. So I never set my business up to do that. But that actually has worked to my benefit because when I do show up at an event, people know that it's a big deal. Like it was a big deal to me to be there. So I'm there because I want to serve, because I want to teach. I really, in my heart, I consider myself a teacher. And so when I have the opportunity to get on stage and teach people, I love that. So I do it if it's the right audience, the right fit for me, and frankly, the right time of year for me because it's tough. But I'm excited to say that my son will soon be graduating from high school. So I'm gonna be footloose and fancy free next year. So I might pick up the amount of speeches that I do at that point. But that really brings up a really good point. You need to think about what your business model is going to be around speaking. Are you trying to be a speaker that does 60 to 80 dates a year? Or are you trying to be a speaker that does 10 or 20? All options are available, but you have to know what is going to make it worth it for you. So for me, I could never travel like that. So what I did was I became really, really good at teaching webinars, really, really good at developing content and developing courseware. And that is really more of how I built my business, in addition to my consulting practice, working with Fortune 500 companies that target small business owners. So you have to kind of figure out what's going to be your speaking business model. Are you going to try to sign up with 5 speakers bureaus to try to see if you can, get more gigs? I personally, have never really benefited that much from speakers bureaus, which is why I really wasn't interested in it until about a year or so ago. But once you get to the point where you're getting really higher fees, a speakers bureau could really make sense because people at that level are calling speakers bureaus. When you get to the point where you're making 30, 40, 50 grand a speech, those people are tending to call speakers bureaus to make those bookings. So it might make sense to do that once you get more established. But right now, it's all about shoe leather. The thing that you want to think about, though, is when you are pitching yourself to speak at a conference, you need to know that conferences typically pick their speakers 6 to 9 months in advance. So if their conference is in 3 months, that's probably not going to be a good opportunity for you unless you want to speak for free or be a workshop presenter. So just understand that those big slots, the morning and lunch and keynotes, those are selected 6 to 9 months in advance. So if those are the opportunities, what conferences you want to target, you need to be targeting them early. Really, really early. Find out who their event planner is. The other thing you can do is find out who was their keynote speaker last year. If you know that person, you could ask that person to make a strategic introduction because usually they're not bringing the same speakers back year after year. So it is possible for you to get a recommendation to get into a speaking opportunity for the next year. So especially one of the other things that I want to point out too is that I have benefited greatly from the National Speakers Association. When I first was a little baby cub speaker, I joined the National Speakers Association chapter here in Philadelphia, and I flew out to California for their national conference. And that was the best thing I ever could have done because I knew business, right? I wrote the book, How to Become Your Own Boss in 12 Months, but I did not know the speaking business. And at NSA, I learned so much and I met so many really, really seasoned speakers. And it was the first time that I ever joined a trade association where people actually opened their kimono up and told you the truth about how their business worked, or talked about what technology they were using in their business, or talked about how they priced a job, and that really, really helped me early on. I didn't know how to pull together my handouts and things like that. And those were things that I learned at the National Speakers Association conference. And they also have midwinter regional conferences that are great. So if you want to work on your speaking skills, if you want to work on your speaking techniques, if you want to learn how professional speakers do it, I strongly suggest that you look into the local chapter of the National Speakers Association and their national conference. Now, let me say this about NSA. NSA is a professional association, so you do have to be a paid speaker to join. Back when I joined, you had to have made $25,000 in a year speaking in order to join. But a lot of times the local chapters might have speaker academies for new speakers that are just getting started. So, and they do have open meetings that non-professional speakers can come to. So don't be turned off by, you got to be a professional member. Keep going and learning. And you can go to their national conference without being a member. So go anyway. Learn as much as you can, and you, in no time, you're going to be a paid speaker like everybody else. So I have found the National Speakers Association to be extraordinarily beneficial, and I highly, highly recommend it. The other thing I want to say is that if you are an aspiring speaker and maybe you're still working a full-time job, Toastmasters is another wonderful organization that will teach you speaking techniques, that will help you get better or remove those ums and ahs. So Toastmasters is another good option if you're just trying to get comfortable standing in front of an audience. Everybody's not, born extrovert like me. Like, I've always been like, put the light on me, I'm ready to be on stage, right? But everybody's not like that. So you can get more comfortable doing things if you will, do Toastmasters, volunteer to speak in a women's group, volunteer to speak at your church. Those are places, safe places where you can hone your skills. And those things are very, very beneficial. And like I said, NSA has a speakers academy that's usually 6 or 9 months long, and they'll walk you through some strategies to work on your speaking skills as well. But again, just because you can speak doesn't mean you can be a speaker. You must learn the speaking business, because there's a whole science to it. So listen, I have really enjoyed the time that I have had to spend with you all today. I hope I have given you guys some wonderful nuggets on becoming a professional speaker, or how to manage becoming a professional speaker. And certainly, if you guys are interested in more information, I want you guys to head over to my blog, succeedasYourOwnBoss.com. And don't forget about my conference, Brand in Demand Live. I want you guys to come to Philadelphia September 21, 22, and 23. It's really like a Thursday evening, and I'm going to be teaching all day Friday, all day Saturday. So I want you guys to come so that I can help you elevate your brand so that opportunities can come to you. So just head over to smallbizladyuniversity.com/brand in demand live. And don't forget to use my discount code SBLVIP. I want you to get that discount so that you can get a VIP ticket for what it costs for a general admission ticket right now. All right. I love you guys so much. Please leave me a comment if this was helpful for you guys. I would love to hear it. But I just want you to know that being a professional speaker is great, but it's a business, and you've got to learn the speaking business. All right. I'm Melinda Emerson, the Small Biz Lady, and I have enjoyed my time with you all today. And I am over and out. Take care.